What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Multiverse Monologues, the podcast show where we like to travel across the multiverses and fandoms that we love to talk about the movies and television shows that accompany those universes. I am Ben Rayside, co-host on this podcast, and you are listening or watching to the Marvel Movie Marathon. And on this day, we have the very special privilege of ranking, reviewing, and discussing Avengers Endgame. 54 Marvel films we have reviewed on this podcast so far, and this is number 55. 21 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies have led up to this moment, and we have reviewed all of them, and now we're here in the Endgame, gentlemen.
Wow.
But not just me, also introducing the gentlemen who helped make this podcast possible. First off, Mr. Ethan Westloff. Ethan, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Endgame. We say this every week, but who would have thought? Who would have thought we made it this far?
Not me.
Not me. Right? And a lot of people listening might go, 55 Marvel movies. Man, how are you guys doing that? But when I look at this crew and I think, man, I can do this all day. And I am just so excited to talk about Endgame.
A fitting intro for a fitting movie. Also introducing Mr. Micah Head. Micah, how are you doing?
Nice pep talk, pissant. All right, let's get into this, man. I'm so pumped. We had some great food. We were making this an event tonight. We made it, guys. This is Ben said it already, but I am really surprised that we are still friends this long. That's crazy to me. We did it.
That is crazy. Yeah.
After all these hours of arguing that we've had, discussing.
I like discussing
We've
better
been through
because
the hard times, the bad times, the good times, and the Electra. And now we're here.
yes, I will say this. I am very interested to see where this film in particular ends up on our ranking because it's a very interesting film. If you can even call this a film, it is so epic in proportions to. It doesn't even feel like a film. It feels like more of an event. So where this ends up on our ranking, it's going to be very, very interesting. And I am certainly, I'm looking forward to just celebrating this moment, this movie, because at the end of the day, are there problems with this movie? Yeah, we're going to talk about them. But is this also a stunning feat of superhero cinema and cinema in general? Absolutely, and we're going to get into that. Let's open our sling rings and head over to the MCU.
My old man, he never met a problem he couldn't solve with a belt.
I thought my dad was tough on me. And now, looking back on it, I just remember the good stuff. You know, he did drop the odd pearl.
Yeah? Like what?
No amount of money ever bought a second of time.
Smart guy.
Did his best.
I tell you, that kid's not even here yet, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for him.
5 years after Thanos wipes out half of all life, the remaining Avengers are left devastated and hopeless. However, a glimmer of hope appears when Scott Lang escapes the quantum realm with a new idea. Using Pym particles and the Infinity Stones, the Avengers embark on a daring time heist to undo Thanos' actions and bring back their lost loved ones. In a thrilling time travel adventure, the Avengers face off against past versions of themselves and other adversaries as they gather the Infinity Stones. Ultimately, they succeed in reversing Thanos' actions, leading to an epic final battle where they must defeat Thanos once and for all. When I look back on the year 2019, this was a huge year for movies in general, and it was a year that really felt like the final for a lot of things. For the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there was finality. For Star Wars, there was finality. The Rise of Skywalker was coming out that year. If you were a Game of Thrones fan, the season finale for Game of Thrones was happening that year. It also was the year that I graduated from high school. And so there was a lot of endings in 2019, and this was the one that I was looking forward to the most. The hold that Endgame had on my life in the beginning of 2019 was something else. But I want to shoot this to you guys first. Obviously, I think without a doubt we all saw this movie in theaters, but What was your mindset like in 2019 leading up to this, Ethan?
Well, every day since seeing Infinity War, you're just thinking about it in one way or another. And then, of course, the build up to the release date of Endgame. You're just so excited. You are so excited to go see this movie and just see what the heck happens, because it was kind of open that Steve would probably be gone after this movie. Iron Man was most likely gone, and Thor was a massive question mark going into this movie. So you didn't know what the movie had in store for your favorite characters. And gotta say, are we doing opening night when we saw this?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
I saw this opening night. Unlike these guys, I only saw this movie one time in theaters.
Ooh.
Because where I can say I sit here and I love this movie now. At the time, it was a little, I thought it was very good, but I did not love this movie leaving the theater.
Whoa.
There were problems I had with it, and just little things like that I look at now and I go, okay, I still don't really agree with that choice, but I really love the movie where it sits right now. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it.
I think it's no surprise to say that Endgame, weirdly enough, in its final stage, takes huge risks with characters. There's a 5-year time jump, and seeing where characters are 5 years in the future, there's going to be some changes. And there are changes that a lot of people may have issues with. And yes, we're going to get into that. But Mr. Het, where were you on opening? Were you in the theaters opening night for Endgame?
I was not there opening night. However, I was there preview night on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
This was the first movie I went to for the Thursday night showing. Ever. Wait. I think I saw Deathly Hallows Part 2 in theaters. I don't know. That was a long time ago. I don't remember that.
2011.
Yeah, that was. But Endgame was a movie that. So I started dating this girl in November 2018. So that was after Infinity War already came out. I saw Infinity War in theaters, but here's the journey. So I saw Infinity War in theaters, right? I saw Venom in theaters, and then I saw Into the Spider-Verse in theaters. I wasn't like super hyped going into Endgame. Like I wasn't counting down the days. I wasn't like, oh, Infinity War ended, I can't wait to go see Endgame. I was like, oh, Infinity War ended. Like that was a really great story, and I didn't even know there was a sequel.
You're kidding.
That was me at the time. So when the months were just going by, and I was just doing school, doing whatever. I was in a play at the time. We just got out like a month earlier, and then she's like, "Hey, you busy on Thursday? You better not be." I'm like, "Sure, wow. Yeah, I'll be busy. Let's do this."
So you were in the theater Thursday night,
but
not by your own choice.
Tinseltown, North Aurora.
Usually the roles are reversed in that situation. Yeah. That's epic. Okay.
She was a huge Marvel head, so that was like this had a huge effect on her. Like Marvel in general, she was in theaters every single movie. Thursday night showings, all that. She felt personally attached to all these characters, and wrapping it up in a 10-year bow was huge for her. So we saw it Thursday night. She paid for all of her friends and me to go.
That's a good deal, right?
It was great. So I watched it and I was like, "This is a great movie. A little long, but you know what? It was a blast." I didn't feel the runtime. Friday goes by, I go home, I go to bed, I wake up. "Hey, you want to see Endgame?" Saturday morning, we watch Endgame. What do you know? She saw it Friday night too, but
wow,
I didn't see it Friday night. We brought her family. Her dad paid for all the tickets, so that was sick. And then what was it? It was 2 days later. It was Tuesday. We watched it at Tinseltown with my family, and my family paid for the tickets. So I didn't spend a cent that whole weekend, and I saw Endgame 3 times.
Wow. Okay. That is very different from my experience.
Yeah. So that was how I played the cards right, and I saw a great movie in theaters.
And you liked it.
I liked it. I liked it all 3 times. I felt I definitely felt the runtime is 3 hours long after 3 viewings. But I don't know. I liked it. That's all I had at the time. I was just kind of a Marvel plebeian at the time.
Okay. All right.
And a lot of I had no idea who Ant-Man was. I hadn't seen Ant-Man. Did I? I didn't remember. I think I saw Ant-Man and the
You
Wasp.
said in
right
our
after.
Ant-Man and the Wasp podcast, you watched it after.
It's disputed.
Endgame.
I believe I saw it after because they were in theaters at the same time, weren't they? Because I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp in theaters.
With what? Infinity War?
I don't remember.
Infinity War was
It's
out
disputed.
2 months before Ant-Man and the Wasp, so maybe. And
Yeah.
Infinity War had a long theatrical run.
I have no idea.
But okay, so you liked it.
I
Ethan,
liked
you
it at
had
the
some
time.
issues with it at the time.
I liked a lot of it.
You liked a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, how can it's pure fan service?
Yeah.
I mean, this might be the best example of fan
I had no
service.
specific arguments with it at the time. I was just like a casual moviegoer, but now I have a bit more critiquing to do.
okay.
I have matured as a film connoisseur, consumer.
When you
more like.
watched 54 Marvel
I
movies,
know,
Mike.
I watched a lot of Marvel, so now I feel like that and more. I guess you'd call them artsy movies. I don't know.
You've just grown. You've matured.
Different. Yeah, I've broadened my palette more. I feel I can give a better take on this film. I can say what things I can articulate what I like and what I don't like about it.
Yeah.
As back then I was just like, oh yeah, it's a good movie.
Very good.
Spoon-fed it.
Okay.
and
So
you
I'm
enjoyed it.
I'm ready to jump in. This
I'm
was the one
excited,
that kicked off my Marvel liking, I guess.
Which is interesting because it's the ending.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. Well, I'm very excited to dive into this with you guys. Like, just to have it almost 5 years removed. Also, a little tidbit: we're recording this on the same day that the very first trailer for Endgame ever came out, with the title reveal. That it was just the Marvel's The Avengers official trailer. And that was it. And it had the Endgame and then the title reveal at the end. And I remember the 3 weeks leading up to this, I would wake up and the first thing I would do is watch an Endgame trailer. The marketing, I want to talk about the marketing specifically for this movie because I think it was something that Disney will never be able to replicate. No. I think from the years of 2016 to 2019, their marketing department was putting together some of the greatest trailers known to man. Say what you want about Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, all those Star Wars films had some of the best trailers ever made. And the Endgame trailer was the most viewed trailer at the time. I think now it's Spider-Man No Way Home, but both Endgame trailers beat out the most viewed record instantly when they were, I mean, in a day, this movie broke all kinds of records. And I was pumped out of my mind to see it. I saw this movie 8 times in theaters, 3 times opening weekend. And I kept going to see it with people who hadn't seen it yet. And I just had an excuse. Oh, you didn't see it yet? Let's go see it after this.
I guess we'll go see it again.
I had no problems with this. The 5th or 6th time, I think the 6th time I watched it, I started to feel that runtime. But the journey you go on from the start all the way to the end is so emotionally satisfying that it makes it worth it.
Will say this, pair this up against a Hobbit movie of the same runtime and watch a Hobbit movie 8 times in a row. Tell me which runtime you feel more.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
The runtime is long, but it worked. I'm still impressed at, like, wow, this movie's 3 hours long, but they still managed to fit so much into it.
Yeah. And I think the way it's structured really lends itself to that because it does obey that very common 3-act structure. The beginning, you have your depressed heroes, and then the middle part is a time travel heist, and then the end is the huge epic final battle, and the end, the Lord of the Rings, the million endings type deal that is very emotional to go through. And there's a lot of fan service. There's a lot of great moments in the movie, and I found myself interestingly more emotional at different. Obviously you get emotional at the end, but there were some quieter scenes near the beginning and the middle that actually surprisingly got me. I'm like, and we're going to talk about all of that as we go into it. But on this viewing now, 4.5 years removed, how was it? How was it, Ethan?
This was a really, really great experience because we all worked it into our schedules. We were able to sit and watch this movie without being rushed. And for the first hour, I watched this alone. And then my little 7-year-old brother Marcus came in. He watched about 45 minutes in the middle with me when they're doing the time travel heist. And that was just such a fun experience for me who've seen this movie before, and we've watched all these movies leading up to it. I did back then, and we did again for this marathon. But sitting there watching it with him, and just the awe and the questions he would ask me, and frankly the how impressed he was with my knowledge of the Marvel universe. Really, like, I was like, oh yes. It's like Ethan, how do you know all this? Like, I've seen the movie, man. I've seen the movie.
You're an expert.
Yeah, but that was just so cool to get to watch part of it with him. But this viewing, I loved it. I loved it.
What are the things he would ask about?
He asked, "Who's that?" A lot.
Yeah.
Who's that? And I had to sit down and explain what the heck time travel was. He didn't know what time travel was.
Oh man.
Yeah, and he was like, "Where's Spider-Man?" Like, oh well,
He died.
I
Sorry, Butto.
he's dead now. And then they travel back to 2012. The Avengers are there. Okay, why are there 2 Captain Americas? Why is that Hulk angry and this Hulk is boring? Like, what is going on here? So it's just a really fun experience to just watch it with him. But
Live reactions from an outsider.
Yeah,
That was a main critique of the movie. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
I have no idea, because you didn't watch the other 20 movies.
in order to play the hits and enjoy the hits, you kind of have to know the hits.
Yes.
And it really plays well for people who've seen them all. But yeah, that is a genuine critique. But what really stood out to me this watch was the runtime and how excellent it worked, and how no part of me felt like, oh, this is a 3-hour slog. No, it is just so fluid. And yes, the Russo brothers, this is their 4th time doing a Marvel movie for us on this marathon, but it never felt like this is samey. This is the same as Infinity War. Infinity War is uniquely its own movie, and this is very much so uniquely its own movie. That is actually what I give it the most credit for. Yes, it kind of plays the hits, and it kind of goes back in time and shows us a lot of things we love, and does a lot of callbacks that are really, really fun. But it never feels like they're cheap in that way. It feels very much like there was a creative vision.
Yes.
They were unique. Like, it's not, I'm trying to find a comparison where it feels cheap, and it's not
Like to go back.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about like Star Wars in a way, but yeah, it just never felt cheap to me. It felt very real. And that was actually a critique at the time. I was like, time travel? Really? This is how you're going to do it? It felt cheap at the moment to go, all right, yeah, we lost, but let's just go back and fix things. But where they really throw your curveball is, yeah, they go back and get the stones, but they use time travel as a way to emotionally explore the big 3 character, really all the characters that we love. And that's what I really give this movie credit for, is telling an emotional story behind all the fun.
The decision to make this, and really the writing shows how well it was constructed. The decision to make the original 22 movies in the core again was really, really cool to bring them back. These are the people who built this universe, and now we are going to make all 6 of them the spotlight. Yes, do other characters get there? Yes, there are some great moments with other characters, but you show up and are emotionally invested, and almost you don't even realize how much you are invested until you get to this movie. Like, the moment that kind of went, I mean, I've seen this movie how many times, but when Hawkeye says to Black Widow in the ship, "We're a long way from Budapest," you just kind of feel that feeling of, oh man, when was the last time they talked about the Avengers? How the journey these two have been on, that now they're in space going off to save the universe now. And then there's a callback there. And however many moments those has, like, it is so well written. To me, this movie is brilliant. And even more so than, you can call it fan service, you can call it whatever you want. Oh, Ben, you're just happy about the movie. No, I genuinely think this is one of the most unique Marvel films that they have ever made, and it shows. Micah, though, how was it this time watching it for you?
Real quick on that one, I think another one of those great lines is, all right, who of you has not been to space? And then, like, some of them raise their hands. It's like, oh yeah, like we totally saw these guys go to space. So it's like, this is the movie where they pay you back. This is the movie where that's a big complaint right now in Marvel, is that there's too many cliffhanger post-credit scenes with nothing paid back, not even a title of a project that they're gonna be in.
Yeah. The second biggest complaint. First big complaint is the lack of good stories to tell.
That's true. That's true.
Well, that, like, I don't care to see those plot threads continued because the projects themselves that they were in aren't as good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when they call back to the Budapest, what do you think of? Oh, Avengers, the first one. Oh, the movie that I really, really love.
Yeah. So this one, we're going to keep it contained to Endgame for nothing past this yet. We'll talk about that at the end. But Endgame is the one where they finally pay you back from all your hard work of watching all 20 of these movies. And now you can finally sit here and say, all right, I did my homework. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to watch this movie. And now that we have done our homework another time, leading up to this in chronological order, it's all the more fulfilling. I love the time that they take with each of these characters. The 3-hour runtime. We keep talking about the 3-hour runtime, but this is the first opportunity where we get a chance to breathe with these characters. They give us a couple extra seconds, and those little seconds make all the difference. Where Cap gets hit and he falls, and you don't think he's going to get back up right away, and he takes a second, and then he gets up. And then he gets ready and he's like, I can do this all day, basically. Right? There's like so many of those little moments where you're like, we just watched Captain Marvel. That was last week's episode. And a big comparison I can make is that Captain Marvel is all go, 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 go. No stop, no exposition. We got to go because we got to get this movie pumped out. And Endgame, they feel a lot more, I don't want to say relaxed, but a lot more comfortable in this runtime.
They're like, you're here, you like these characters, we're going to sit here.
Yeah. Captain Marvel, maybe they're just trying to sell the character, but Endgame, you're already sold. You already know these characters going in. So now let's develop those more. Let's give us a second where Clint stands there and he knows that Black Widow's right behind him. And he's like, you shouldn't be here. Neither should you. Those moments where they have pacing at all. That's been a big problem that we haven't really talked about in comic book movies because it kind of just plagues them all mostly. Where they're not meant to have little moments of peace, right? There's no moments of, but Infinity War has set the stage, has passed the baton to Endgame. We got that fast, crazy Infinity War hectic 30-second scenes with every single character on the MCU. And now we have cut them all down. We're down to 6, right? We're down to our main Avengers, Ant-Man, and what's her name? Nebula. Those are our main guys. Oh, and Rhodey.
Rocket.
And Rocket.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a couple. We're down to like less than 10, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie needed.
Yeah.
And that is what, because if it were just another 20 character cast, people would have been like, oh, it's just Endgame again. We just have,
Or Infinity War again.
Yeah.
Infinity War again. That's what I meant. And you don't feel the weight. You wouldn't have felt the weight of the loss. There's, like what Marcus said, where's Spider-Man?
Yeah, where is Spider-Man?
Where's my guy? Where's
Yeah. Speaking about those quiet moments that you say, I find it very interesting that the movie opens with Hawkeye on a farm.
Yeah.
And it's this huge movie. You have all these theories going in. Iron Man, Captain America, what's going to happen? And it starts with Hawkeye, a guy who wasn't even in the Infinity War.
How about some ketchup?
And they're just talking about hot dogs. And they spend a good 5 minutes just shooting a bow and arrow, talking about lunch. And then
They can do that in this movie.
Exactly. Yes.
They can't do that in Infinity War. That's why they saved it. I love the 5 years later.
Yeah.
Like even that's a good 20, 30 seconds. But I remember first watching that in theaters. You guys remember that?
What the?
You had no idea that there was going to be a time jump. And you see the number 5. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
what is it gonna be? 5 months?
5 minutes.
5 years? Okay. Later? Before? No idea. Going into this blind was such an experience, and this was the
Yes,
first
it
movie
was.
where I really felt that it was an experience. There are moments, obvious moments where there's space for applause, but
Right.
It was the first movie where I felt the need to applaud because it was that big of a moment. And I think the experience that I had in the theater was everyone else felt that same need. I saw this also on Thursday night. And it was just, it was electric, man. So many moments.
Even little moments that at the time you're like, holy cow, they did that's so cool. In a rewatch, you have to remember, oh yeah, that was huge. That like when Wasp says, "You got it, Cap," and you know Paul Rudd's sitting there and he grins because they had a big argument in the last movie about that.
Yeah,
but now that plays like whatever. But at the time, it was like yes, like it was just rewarding fans. But Ben, this experience for you.
to sum it up, this was good.
Yes, it was.
That was me closing.
It solidified my spot for sure and my opinions on this one. And I'll get to that at the end, but this is my
cry, Ben.
favorite.
Don't
movie.
cry.
No, I'm serious right now. We might reach a point where I start talking about certain things, and I'm not kidding you. Where I literally, so when I saw this movie in theaters, I came home and my mom, she was excited for us that we were that excited. It was that palpable. No, she stayed up the whole night.
You boys.
No, seriously. We got home at like 11:30 and she was like, "So how was it?" She was excited. And I sat there explaining the plot, what happened to her, and I was crying explaining it. So sitting here, you laugh. No. But straight up, this movie right here is one of the main reasons why I am such a big fan of movies itself. This movie made me feel, and still does make me feel, the most out of almost any film I've ever watched in my life, because growing with these characters and then seeing how it pays off, it is the best example of fan service that you can give. And on this rewatch, after watching 54 films, the good and the bad, it is a crowning achievement in superhero cinema. And I couldn't help sit there and just appreciate that I lived through it, that I was there on opening night watching this movie, and that there are people who didn't get that experience.
Never get that. Yeah.
And years down the road, you're listening to this in 2069, and it's nice. You're sitting there and you're like, man, okay, this must have been crazy, because you can't not deny that this movie in and of itself, even all the way in the future, is a crazy achievement.
Huge.
But being there on opening night was so incredible that I don't think I'll ever have an experience like that again. I don't think they'll ever be able to do that in the current climate. They're going to have to make some huge changes, but to make me invested in that many characters and to have me so invested in all of those moments, we should have a couple moments that are our favorite in this, because there's that many moments that are so good in this.
We'll do that.
There's just a scene, watching it this time, this scene really stood out to me. Tony's conversation with Pepper. When I first saw it, I really didn't think that she was going to be in it, because they don't show her at all, and they send Morgan back outside. You know, mommy told you to save you, like mommy told me to save you, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to show her. They couldn't get her back for this. And then they have a conversation together, and it's after he solves time travel.
Yeah.
And he makes conversation with her.
Quickly solves time travel.
He does, which I often defend because it's Tony.
Right.
But he's asking her, what's new with composting? And he couldn't be less interested. You can tell. And Robert Downey Jr. himself is just fantastic in this. And he's
an Oscar. Come on.
Why did he not?
Come on.
Oh, it's a travesty. He's so good in this. And he's sitting there and he's talking, and he totally interrupts her as she's talking about it. He's like, I did it. And she's like, no, just so we're talking about the same thing here. I solved time travel. And they have their whole conversation about how he should throw it away. He has the life that he wants here. He has a second chance. And he said, I should throw it away. I should lock it in a box, and I should throw it in the water. And Pepper says, but would you be able to rest? And that in and of itself just has me so emotional because I know what's going to happen going forward.
You can rest now. Yeah.
Like, dude,
so good.
Those moments, those small ones. There's a moment with Cap. Not to get, I just don't name moments, but he's in 1970 and he gets locked in that room for a second, and there's a one-way doorway, and he sees Peggy.
Let's just a side note, but Peggy, 30 years later, she aged very well.
Fine.
She aged very well.
Seriously.
Ooh, doggy.
I don't know, man.
I would stay back too.
I would stay back. Come on. But man, to answer your question all those minutes ago, it was epic.
Good
epic
time.
watching
Yes.
this.
All right.
Yes.
So to avoid like just being a gush fest for a while, let me just throw a few things out, okay?
Okay.
All right. These aren't necessarily critiques, but just things.
Okay.
Things I'm going to list. All right. Fat Thor. Thanos dies first 5 minutes. They fight a new Thanos. 5-year time jump. Time travel. Any scenes of humor. All the character deaths. Do what you want with that.
Fat Thor.
Fat Thor.
Fat Thor. It was probably the biggest. There were some Professor Hulk leaks before, I remember. Fat Thor was a complete surprise.
Mm-hmm.
They hit it in the trailers. They have
Hit it very well in the trailer.
a shot of Thor powering up with his axe in the trailer. And that's going to be the Thor represented, but it is absolutely not.
I have a cup from the theater, and he's not Fat Thor. Like
Poster behind us.
poster behind
Yeah.
us.
Mega.
The official art is from the beginning of the movie, I guess.
Does it work?
Yes.
To me, it absolutely does.
Oh yeah.
I think there are people, and I'm not crapping on you if you don't like it, but to me, the journey, and especially the journey they take him on in this movie because of his condition, I think is excellent.
Yeah, and this is beyond we're not talking about where they take him in Love and Thunder.
No.
We're not talking about that.
No.
We're talking about where he is now. Yeah, I think it very much works. Like, Thor's been through bad stuff. Like, Frigga died, Loki died, Odin died, Asgard was destroyed. Yeah, and he powered through all that. But this one thing has affected him, as it should. Half of humanity died because of him. It's affected him that bad to where he is in such a low, terrible spot that he's got cheese whiz, flowing through his veins.
I think that this is a happy medium for me in between our first viewings of Thor, like our first introductions, and what we see in
Love and Thunder.
yeah. So like this is the transition, the halfway point between Infinity War and Love and Thunder, Thor. And I'm kind of fine with him being right here. I don't like where they take him, but that's not this movie. But I think that Thor, as Fat Thor, introduces a new layer to the character in more ways than one. A layer of fat that shields him from the sadness that he experiences. I like it. We got our little Thor Lego set right there in the front. I like him.
I think
Bro Thor.
because I like it so much, it's because of his conversation with his mom.
Yeah.
Everyone fails at who they're supposed to be. The measure of a hero is succeeding at who you are. And that wouldn't have happened without him in that state.
Yeah.
Which is a great lesson for anyone watching, not just superhero Fat Thor, but also the comedic moments you get from that performance are amazing. However unintentional they might be, just because he's a bumbling idiot sometimes. But I'm not gonna. I love that they're playing Fortnite in his little. And how he just absolutely wrecks New Master 69. That is still hilarious to me 5 years later.
It works timeline wise, yeah.
It absolutely does, because Fortnite went back just recently.
He was probably playing OG Fortnite.
Did you like it at the time though? I like it now, and I liked it back then even, but certainly a surprise.
There are two jokes in this that are very, and I'm sure you know what the other one is. There are two jokes in this that are very timely, and the Fortnite one just happened to still work. Hulk out, dab. Like,
He says dab too.
Dab.
Like, what are we doing?
yeah, like those are the only two jokes that are borderline for me. Like dab, it's funny. Like he's out of touch. That could work, right? Nobody dabs anymore in 2023, but 5 years ago, yeah. And sure, maybe culture's different in a year where the blip happened.
Right? True. Different
Maybe
world.
they're still dabbing in 2020.
That's the only thing that made them through the blip.
Just like everything
In those
else that was put on hold, humor was also put on hold for 5 years.
So this is part of the bottom of 3 jokes in the entire MCU. There's Hulk dab. There's what are those in Black Panther?
Ooh, yeah.
And I guess there's Fortnite.
And the entire Electra movie.
And
And Howard the Duck.
You can take that one off.
Duck nipples.
is that a good segue into Professor Hulk?
I think so.
Many
Smart
people
Hulk.
have a problem with that one. That's the biggest one.
Oh, he wants to take a picture with you.
I love that.
I love that
Especially
scene.
Ant-Man.
Take the guy's dang phone.
You want a picture with me?
Take it.
You want a picture? I'm Ant-Man. Dude, Paul Rudd is a treasure in this movie.
I think how
yeah.
they use him works very, very well in this movie. And yeah, when talking about this movie, it's so easy to let where the characters have gone since this movie to affect where they place them. But yeah, he's no 2012 Hulk. He's no the first Avengers Hulk. He's no Age of Ultron Hulk.
Brains and the brawn.
Right. The brain and the brawn are one now. And yeah, we don't get to see that journey, but I think that is part of the beauty of this time jump is how much characters have changed and kind of it wouldn't really be a time jump if they're the same at the end of the time jump. There has to be big changes with these characters. Like, I mean, Captain Marvel gets a haircut.
Come on
now.
That's a pretty big change.
Tony has a kid. And it felt like a necessary change because you can't just have things the same 5 years later. There's no weight to a time jump if everything's the same.
Does him not facing off against Thanos ruin it for you?
So if you, I don't know, this is just a callback from the first, Avengers movie when Bruce and Tony are having their first conversation and Bruce is like, I should have died. The gamma rays should have killed me. And Tony kind of recalls what he said in his first movie, you wouldn't be here. Or what does he say? He said, I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for a reason. He says that to Bruce. And then Bruce, when they're like the Infinity Stones, they're all gamma. Basically, he's like, I was made for this. And I really, really like that.
Yes.
So I was made for this.
Yes.
I was made for this.
You can see that through line through it. And I don't know. It doesn't ruin it for me.
No.
I don't think that this movie would have worked with Hulk or with Bruce. I think there had to be both. Like there had to be some fix for this character, and I think Smart Hulk was a smart decision.
Yeah, it feels like, not that it's immature, but he feels like too of an immature character to have as a part of this really deep story.
I definitely agree with that, because if you just had Bruce Banner, then he'd have to Hulk out at some point because he hasn't Hulked out in a movie and a half. And then if he was just Hulk, then they'd have to tame Hulk, and that would take away from the story they're trying to tell. We've already seen that before. We've already seen him be Bruce Banner. We've already seen him be Hulk. Now let's set that aside. Try something new. This movie does new things with every single character, and that was, I think, something I said about the Avengers too, wasn't it? Was every single character gets some new cool move to do or some new cool thing to do, and
a moment.
Yeah. And I think we kind of missed that in Ultron. But now we're back to a good formula.
Especially now that this is the Russo brothers' second Avengers movie, you really get to compare the two. Okay, Josh Whedon did 2 Avengers movies. The Russo brothers did 2 Avengers movies. Say what you want about Age of Ultron. We kind of liked it, but it very much feels like, okay, let's take what we did in the first one, try to do that bigger, better,
amp it up
more,
to 110.
amp it up more. Where the Russo brothers' approach to this movie wasn't, let's look at Infinity War and just do that bigger. Because you really can't do that bigger.
No.
They decided, let's change
Could
direction.
get another 50 characters.
Yeah,
like,
right.
no.
Right. They were very bold in this direction. And you got to factor in Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, too. The
Absolutely.
writers who, is this their last Marvel film to date that they've written?
That's a great question.
I
Look
can't
into
imagine
that,
what
Micah.
else they've written since.
Who wrote this trash?
Who wrote this trash?
Steven.
They were huge. They did more than just this.
Christopher
They
Marcus?
did the first Avenger, Winter Soldier,
Last
Civil
one?
War. They don't get enough credit for
No,
sure.
they don't.
Russo, a lot of it goes to the Russo brothers and the actors, but those two writers are
Characters are only as good as their writers.
yes. And if you go and watch some of the behind the scenes for both, I mean, all the movies they write for, I mean, there was huge plans for so much more than what we saw, but they decided for this one specifically to go more character driven. And speaking of character driven, Hawkeye. Hawkeye
Ronan.
gets a lot of time to shine in this movie, more than usual, and I love that. The trailers hint at Ronan. You get that in a stunning one take sequence
And
in Tokyo.
Yeah, not the way that the Captain Marvel trailers hinted at Ronan. No, not Ronan the Accuser. Different Ronan.
Ronin,
A better one.
a Japanese warrior.
I love that whole sequence. I never in my life did I expect to see an epic action one take in Tokyo with a samurai sword. I mean, come on. But
What's that actor's name? They got him in there.
Hiroyuki Sanada, I
Yeah.
think. And I mean, he just randomly shows up. He's a huge actor. A lot of people show up just to cameo in this movie. Robert Redford being one of them. And
So cool. Tom Hiddleston.
when he sits there and they're back and forth between him and Black Widow, seeing Hawkeye at that dark spot, don't give me hope. I wish I couldn't have given it to you sooner. So many scenes at the beginning. I want to highlight that.
Yeah.
They make you feel so down about this that it makes when they all come back and they defeat Thanos, it makes it that much cleaner because of where the characters are. They've lost so much.
There is one joke in the first 30 minutes of the movie, and then at the 30-minute mark, they do back-to-back jokes. Like that's the first, and it's just like two little things about the sandwich.
And
And then they're back into it.
Yes.
Like amazing. They set a tone and they kept it for the movie. And that is beautiful.
I also like that Black Panther remembers Clint's name from Civil War.
Yeah.
Clint, give it to me. After he said, I don't care what your name is in Civil War. Like that's a nice little, that's what I've got to say about Hawkeye.
But no, Jeremy Renner gets to perform, right? He's an actor and he doesn't get to act too much in these Avengers movies, you know? I mean, he has a really good speech in Age of Ultron and he kind of is forgettable in Civil War. But here he gets some really good scenes, family scenes with Natasha. He gets a really awesome out of the blue scene with Wanda at the end by the lake. A great scene there.
The scene after Widow's death on the dock as he just kind of basically yells at Thor.
That was
It
good.
can't be undone. It can't be. Why don't you go fly? Use your magic hammer. Go fly out back to him. Like that was a really good scene. Renner actually shows off his acting chops, and they all do. All of them. Do we want to say anything else about Hawkeye before we go to Widow?
Yeah.
Let's go right into Widow.
Let's jump into Widow.
She's great.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson is so good in this movie.
As we talked about it in our Infinity War podcast, but the cliff of killing great female characters returns.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go.
As good as Gamora is in Infinity War, Natasha is so good in this one.
Oh, good.
So
Is her death satisfying? Is it worth it to that character after this amount of time?
Such a tough question because it really, yes and no. I think it works really well, and you feel the emotion, and what it does for the Avengers is there. But I don't know. I don't hate it. It works for me, but I feel like there's something missing.
I think that's the best they can do with what rules they already established for getting that stone.
Yeah.
Because they had to have somebody die and they had to have it be one contained scene. That's why they don't cut to that scene
Right.
in between
Until the
other
end.
ones. Because they cut between all the other
Time heists.
the time heists. And then at the end, it's one thing.
Right.
So that you can have the emotional weight going right into everyone going back at the same time, and Clint just falls to his knees and he's like, she didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think it should have been Clint. You see what I've become. They have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Would it have been better if it was Clint?
No.
Why?
Because I like Hawkeye.
Yeah.
The show.
Clint's story feels still present.
Yeah.
He's been in a dark place the past 5 years. He's been murdering dudes as Ronin, and his family's gone. He has a reason to keep going, but it feels a lot more natural for this is what Widow's destiny was. This is where she was building to.
Yeah, and that's her own. She's her only family. She said it is with the Avengers, with the people she works with, basically. And Clint, he's got such a big future ahead of him. And when we see him in Hawkeye, the show, I love it. I love what they do with the character there. Not like the best show ever, but it is a great bridge. It's Christmassy. I might watch it again this year.
Yes.
It's a great bridge in between projects, and we haven't had many shows that have been good bridges.
Yeah,
so
true.
I like what they do with Clint.
Yeah.
Now, what you can be throwing flags at and being like, why the heck is this? Is our first Black Widow movie doesn't come until after this. That's the main, like, why is that now? Why is that now?
Why create a Black Widow movie if you're going to kill her here?
And if you're going to do, like, just thinking about placement wise, if you're going to do like a prequel story anyway, it just feels so much more fitting to have that Black Widow movie in the slot where Captain Marvel is.
Yes.
If you think about it like that.
Well, 100%. Having her Captain Marvel come in for a cameo anyway would have worked. Oh yeah, she's coming. She's coming down the line, but she's
cool
just
character.
Cameo in this movie. But she deserved it, man.
They've been saving her story for a movie for so long. That's why they haven't given her much in the Avengers movies and the other. And I don't know. They mistreated Black Widow. I feel that, and I hear there was a Marvel exec decision was to push and keep pushing this Black Widow movie further and further.
Right. It's shocking how far into this we are, and like, okay, yeah, we have great female characters, but we only have 2 really female-led films. Like that's really, really crazy that they kept pushing a Black Widow film.
One's bad and one's worse.
And I think it's the same executive, Ike Perlmutter, who famously said, "Yes, recast Rhodey. No one will notice." Okay, they all look the same. The actual quote from Marvel exec at the time.
Yeah,
that's why they wrote that line in for Iron Man 2, right when he walks in. Here comes Rhodey.
Here's Rhodey.
That's
just
no
pretend
good.
It's him.
Oof. He's good in this.
Don Cheadle's great. His birthday was just last week.
Oh, nice! Happy birthday, Don Cheadle. I like his scenes with Nebula, and how he drops down on Ant-Man, and he's like, "What's up, regular sized man?" And he destroys his tacos and stuff. I think Don Cheadle is good for what he's in there for, and I'm glad he's there at the end.
Scroll Don Cheadle.
Scroll Don Cheadle. Yeah. Not really Don Cheadle.
Oh man.
No,
see,
we're not.
You just you.
No. Our headcanon is not that.
No,
because it's not. You watch this movie. That's not.
But you know who we do see in this movie from the shows? Loki.
Well, even a deeper cut than Loki.
Jarvis
is Jarvis. Yeah. Yes, Jarvis. From Agent Carter.
Sorry, I haven't seen that show.
That was a crazy one. I haven't seen much of Agent Carter, but I was like, usually they don't reference the shows. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter don't really get any nods, but in this huge movie, they've got Jarvis there with Howard Stark.
Well, yeah, you're talking about War Machine or Rhodey and Nebula.
Yes.
Talking to you. Rhodey and Nebula and how that pairing works. Like, just all the pairings are really, really good pairings. Like, come on. Thor and Rocket. Rocket is a character that, much unlike so many of these characters, seeing Rocket's most recent project and then coming back to this, very, very rewarding. Like, you think you're the only one who's lost people? And he slaps him, a little raccoon slapping Fat Thor. Like, no, they've all lost people. And we know Rocket he's lost his found family in the Guardians, and we see in future, no spoilers for that, but he lost people before that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
I really love the pairing with Nebula and Rhodey. I love they're standing right outside that's a Power Stone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just connect all of a sudden because I mean, duh, they're both cyborgs basically. Wasn't always like this. Yeah, me neither. But we work with what we got. What a great little connection that you wouldn't even think of.
Yeah.
And I love their scene before that when they're watching Quill's dance and they just pan over to him, and great comedic timing from Cheetah. Like, so he's an idiot.
So this guy's
Pretty
an
much.
idiot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. But I love that, other perspective we get from their perspective, an outsider's perspective of him just like dancing. It's really good.
I love how Nebula kicks one of the little things, little rats at the beginning of the scene.
Yes. Yes.
They're just so kickable, I guess.
I'm trying to avoid talking about Tony and Cap. So I'm going to go Thanos.
Yeah,
Thanos.
they're my least favorite characters anyway.
Yeah,
so.
they suck. They blow.
Every time they're on screen, boo!
Who are these old farts?
Do you want to talk about Thanos? All right. He's way more toned down in screen time compared to the first Infinity War.
How shocked were you when they killed him at the start?
Oh, shocked.
It's like, what?
Because you had no idea that they were going to do anything after this. Like, you thought that this was going to be a hunt down Thanos, get him to rip like just a repeat of Infinity War. Everyone expected it to be that. And it wasn't. Because that was the obvious solution, but the stones were destroyed. Use the stones to destroy the stones.
I hated the choice to kill Thanos, and I hated the choice to fight future Thanos at the time, or past Thanos at the time. But now, like, looking at it from both sides, it's just very poetic, and it's very cool to see the contrast between these two Thanoses. This Thanos that gets killed at the beginning of the movie won. He won. He succeeded. He got all the stones, wiped out half the population, destroyed the stones, died accomplishing his goal. Then we get this past 2014 arrogant Thanos, where he aspires to get to that point where future Thanos was. Then he sees that point, goes, I did it. I am that guy. I am him. I'm him.
My destiny.
That's my destiny. I'm inevitable, right? And
that's destiny fulfilled.
He becomes this much worse version of Thanos that has all that power, is so hungry for it, and knows that a future version of him did it. So he's so much more arrogant, and he has no personal connection to these Avengers. It's like, I don't even know who you are, but I really like that choice. Like, I didn't at the time. It works so well. And yeah, you can talk about, okay, especially when Cap, we'll talk about it later, but when Cap goes ham on him with the hammer, you're like, wow, this guy is way too OP. He is very OP, but that also goes, okay, that shows how much maturity older Thanos had. When older Thanos had all the stones, how much restraint he showed. He just snapped out half the population when he could have wiped out everyone. Where this Thanos doesn't have any stones, but his will to just conquer overpowers that.
His goal was different. His goal was okay, let's kill all these guys to conquer everything. Oh, but now, in all my years of conquest, in all my years, it's never been personal.
Right. And you see the two Thanoses reflected in the costume design, right? Thanos looks so much cooler with his armor on, but in Infinity War, he takes all that armor off. He's humanized. Whereas this, he keeps all that armor on, and he's just painted to be a monster.
This is him to be a warlord.
Yeah, I like how that's reflected.
His plan at the end, once he realizes it, to just kill everyone and start over. Because guess what? You're not going to be grateful. No one's going to realize what you have. So I guess this isn't going to work. So now I'm going to kill everyone and start over. And they get those little interactions between him. It'll be born out of blood, and they'll never know it. I'll be the only one who knows it, and you guys can't stop me.
Yeah.
And I really like what they do with Thanos in this movie. This movie isn't about Thanos. So I'm okay not feeling as invested in Thanos' story as much as I was in Infinity War. That Thanos, you said it, he won. That was the Thanos I was invested in. This one is a Thanos for the Avengers to beat. It's the Thanos that will encourage the ultimate sacrifice from Tony, and it feels no less earned, even though it is a different one.
Yeah.
Many people will tell you different.
Yeah.
There are people who disagree and hate that decision, but I really think it works.
And I did at the time. Yeah.
Why? Because of that reason? Because it's not the same, or?
Yeah. It just felt like, okay, yeah, whatever. The Avengers just straight up lost. And then we'll just go, for fan service sake, we'll go into the past. We'll pluck a Thanos that we can beat the crap out of. That's what it felt like. But narratively, it works a lot better than how it felt at the time.
I like how at the end, when Tony does snap, Thanos does exactly what he does at the end of Infinity War, is he realizes what's about to happen or what's been done, and he sits down. And the same music plays, but this time he's gone. He's dead. And even though it's a different Thanos, you draw that parallel between the two of them. Love that.
Yeah, I think they did that because they already took Thanos to every end. They already explored him to as much as they wanted to, until What If, of course. And now they wanted to do something different. They needed something different, or else it would have just been, Thanos 2, Thanos again. It's the same guy. But I think it was a good choice to not mess with that character, give him a finite end. Yeah. That's it. And we move on.
And I absolutely love the way that they bring this Thanos into the story.
Oh, yeah.
Like the neural link between the two nebulas. How cool is that?
Yes.
Like, you do time travel, you better do some fun stuff. And this movie does fun stuff with time travel. For sure.
I think it's one of the weaker parts of the movie for me, but just because everything is so good.
Time travel?
No, not the time travel, the Nebula plot. I think the Nebula Gamora parts are really just there to bring Gamora back and Thanos to the future. I don't like Nebula by herself in this movie.
Ooh.
I don't think as much as the other characters. Like she's all right.
That's fair.
Weaker link.
Yeah, she's weaker. I don't think that her lines are as special. I think she's just there to be a MacGuffin to get Thanos to the future. Because why didn't she just like hit the Pym particles at any time? Because she could have, right? To just like hit him, be gone. I don't know. How do they have enough Pym particles to get all of Thanos' army out there? I don't know. That's the biggest problem.
The ideas are all on that one massive ship that gets through.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And also the reason she doesn't press the thing anymore is because she can't. They have to link up to press it. That's why each one of them, they have to do it together. But I will also say this, however much I justify what happens with the time travel and coming back, when you look at it very intensely, there are plot holes with it. And if you could sit there and
it's a time travel movie.
It's a time travel movie. You can do that with any of them. So I choose to not do that and enjoy the heck out of the movie.
I choose to ignore the flaws. And it's a perfect movie.
You open the door to...
Just like me with Howard the Duck.
Yeah. Okay. If you open the door to the multiverse, then it makes a lot more of this like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Because that's explained.
Just do that. Yeah. But I don't have any issues with that. I do have a question, though.
Yeah.
Do you guys think, since this is Thanos' last film, do you think that he is one of the most iconic villains because of these two? Does he hold his own in the pantheon of great villains in cinema?
Yes.
Yes. That was a quick yes from Micah.
Yes. Immediately out of the theater, people were like, oh yeah, this guy, he's going to go down in the books. Like, this is up there with Joker. This is up there with, I don't know who else is up there.
Darth
Vader, Emperor. Like, this is it. And it's just because of Josh Brolin's line delivery and the lines he's fed. Like, His stage presence is huge. His like even with Vincent D'Onofrio, like comparing him to that, they both fill a room. When he's there, stakes are up. Like,
Yeah.
Agreed.
yeah,
You feel it.
You
when
don't
he's
feel
around.
it with other villains in the MCU. You don't feel it with some other. Like Thanos is one of the greatest written villains we have seen in this podcast for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's 100%.
Oh,
And
100%.
yes.
I'd have to say, yeah, I also think he's one of the, if not the greatest villain. Just because you get two versions of this guy.
Ever? Or greatest villain ever? Or in this marathon? 'Cause
Yeah.
That,
Okay. So
Ethan, you've seen a lot of shows. What's
Yeah.
like? Is there another villain that you've got in mind?
for like a show,
or anything in
Or
general. Because
anything.
if I'm not mistaken, you just made the claim that Thanos is the greatest villain ever.
he's other than Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin. Like I'd say Thanos is my personal favorite villain
Nothing
of
in
all time.
Lost, nothing in Walking Dead.
No,
nothing-
Lost is more like Lost is a
I haven't
character
seen
story.
Lost,
It's not
okay.
really like a villain, and The
The
Walking Dead
villain is
doesn't.
the island.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he's
Spoiler alert.
spoiler alert.
I know everything about Lost.
He knows everything. But to
I've seen
me,
nothing.
I think Thanos is so hugely unique. Whereas yes, Darth Vader is great. Darth Vader's first appearance, though, he's there, he's menacing. You're afraid of him, you love him. But the build up to Thanos was hugely unique, hugely different. We get two very different versions of Thanos in both these movies. And you also got to factor in, yes, the writing is great. The delivery is great. Josh Brolin just has a way about Thanos. But you also got to factor in the scenes that accompany this villain, the characters that accompany this villain. Like, say what you want about Luke Skywalker, right? And his fight with Darth Vader. But if you put him up against, if you have to tell me to pick Luke Skywalker or pick Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, I'm going to pick those three every time. And those three go against this guy in some really awesome scenes. And not to take anything away from Darth Vader, but I just think Thanos in these movies and this universe just help him so much.
Not gonna say that he can take him in a fight, but one villain I think is better than Thanos writing wise is I would say Gus Fring is like the only one that would
Gustavo
like
Fring, yeah.
that would like
He's really, really good.
it's similar writing. They've got that just intimidating nature in the way they speak, how they
Right.
can just flip the switch.
Yeah, and
all of a
you
sudden.
never want to throw Heath Ledger's Joker by the curb either. They're
No.
just the fact that you can sit here and debate this is just really fun. But
Yes.
to me, Thanos is kind of in a league of its own just because the heroes that accompany Thanos and the movies that accompany Thanos and the payoffs that accompany Thanos, right? Like, I am inevitable. And you bounce that back with I am Iron Man. Like, come on. So good.
I love how everyone has lines in this that come back a second time. They all, everyone's got a. Thanos says, "I'm inevitable" twice. There's, "You can rest now." There's those lines. The important lines have
On your
huge pay. Yeah, on your left. There's, "I can do this all day."
Yep.
Once again, paying back to the audience for paying attention, for being there since day one. It's great.
What do you say to someone who says this is just fan service, the movie, and doesn't work as its own film?
While it is fan service, it is fan service, the movie, for a lot of it. Does it hold up as its own? I believe it does in ways. I believe they don't introduce you to a lot of the characters because they expect you to at least have watched Infinity War. That was Infinity War's job, was to introduce you at least a little bit to all of these characters, catch you up on just a little bit of what you may have missed, and then they funnel you into Endgame. That was Infinity War's job, and I think they did it really well. And I would say this kind of holds up as a standalone,
As its own thing.
it's an amazing movie, but character wise, would you be able to follow along if you knew nothing? I don't think so.
I think the threads,
But it is a direct sequel of
I think the
Infinity War.
threads opened and closed are just enough to where you can go, oh, okay, I really love that. Like you have you have Steve looking at his, Peggy on the thing. Like, you're like, okay, what the heck is that? Then he runs into her in the past and you're like, oh, wow, they must have had some kind of fling. And then he's with her in the last shot of the movie. Okay. So yeah, you don't feel like oh man, that was hugely emotional, but you can be like, oh yeah, whatever. He had a thing with this girl whenever he goes back. But I pose that critique to the same critique. Like, okay, what if I turn on, for example, we're talking about Lost. If I turn on the Lost finale and I watch that, okay, this finale doesn't stand on its own as a great TV episode. No, it doesn't stand on its own as a great TV episode because everything was building to and that goes with any show, any finale of any show. Everything was building to this. It's very much a finale of the Infinity Saga.
It's like the difference between Return of the King and Return of the King Extended Edition. So Return of the King by itself, great movie, but would you be able to follow along if that was the only one you watched? Maybe. Extended Edition, they throw in all the flashbacks. They throw in everything. They give you the exposition. Rebecca, my fiance, for those of you just tuning in
I
now.
had to shout her out.
We saw Return of the King 20th anniversary in theaters,
I did too.
extended.
Yeah.
And she had only seen the first disc of Fellowship Extended. So she had only seen the first half of the first movie, and she was able to fully understand what was going on in Return of the King Extended Edition just because they catch you up.
Return of the King also has the benefit of being 4.5 hours.
It is 4.5 hours.
So you get a lot of time.
Endgame is also long, though.
Yes, 3 hours. It's our
and,
longest film, no?
I think we've said that a couple times, yeah.
Yeah.
Even now, it is still our longest movie. Is it longer than the Batman?
Yes, it is. Batman
Okay.
does not reach 3.
Okay, yeah, the Batman's like 259 or something.
It is not the longest superhero movie ever made, but it is the longest Marvel movie ever made.
Is
Yeah.
Snyder's Justice League the longest?
Yeah,
4
that's
hours.
4.
Is that the longest ever superhero movie ever made?
Superhero movie, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
There's
Shove
the
it down
Captain
in the
America
comments
serial from 1946 that I count.
yeah. Let's talk about Captain America.
Ben, do you think it holds up as its own? You didn't say anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, yes, and you can't watch this without watching the other ones. And
Sure.
I think you shouldn't watch it without being going on a journey. With
No,
this
you do
movie.
yourself a disservice.
Yeah, if
you
you
just
do.
watch this.
If you're going
not
into
gonna
this
get-
expecting to know, to come out of the movie, say, oh yeah, that was a good, its own movie, but you've seen nothing else,
No.
you're in for a bad time.
I agree with you guys. Steve Rogers, Captain
Can
America.
we talk about Ant-Man before we get to the main two?
Sure.
Because I wish Edgar Wright got his early Phase 1 Ant-Man.
Okay, so explain that to me, because I know nothing about what Edgar Wright was going to do. I don't care about an Edgar Wright Ant-Man. Why should I?
Edgar Wright was the front runner for Ant-Man. I've been
Yes.
looking this up this week, and he loved Ant-Man growing up. What's his name?
Paul Rudd,
No, the MCU guy.
Peyton Reed,
No, the guy.
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige. He was like, hey,
Nice, Ethan.
hey, Edgar Wright, you want to make a Marvel movie? Pick somebody, go with it. Edgar Wright picks Ant-Man.
Paul Rudd.
Well, I don't know about Paul Rudd. I don't know if he picked Paul Rudd specifically. I don't remember that part,
But he
but he
picks-
wrote a screenplay with somebody else, and they were sitting on it from like 2005 to 2008. They were sitting on this movie. It was supposed to be made later that year. Didn't get made. They're just like, that's when Edgar Wright dropped out, was after Iron Man came out. Kevin Feige didn't agree with the script. He didn't want it to be as Edgar Wright-y. So the script hung around for a little bit. There it falls on the new Ant-Man frontrunners. They adapt the script a little bit. There's still some Ant-Man stuff in there. But if we had Ant-Man from the beginning, I would have loved to see Paul Rudd in Avengers 1 because I love the synergy that he has with the other Avengers. I wish we could have more Avengers movies with Ant-Man, and we could.
Fair. Okay.
We could. I would have loved to see what they would have done with
You
the
like
character.
you like Paul Rudd's chemistry with the OG team.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Very good.
with the
Yeah.
OG team, with the new characters. I love how it feels so historied. Like they've been coworkers forever.
No, and I love the way they bring him into the fold with just, the rat. We can joke about that, but the way that he gets to see the post-blip world is just so bleak.
What
and
the hell happened here?
Yeah, it's like, what happened here? He's walking down the street and it feels very
and
like
that kid on the bike.
Yeah, and it feels just like Rick when he wakes up.
Yes.
In the pilot of The Walking Dead, Rick's walking down the street like, what happened here? What is going on? Same thing with Ant-Man walking down the street, looking at the signs, the piles of trash in the street, and it's just like it's so crazy how they've never tapped into the storytelling that the blip has.
And how he goes to the memorial.
Yeah.
And he's looking, where's Cassie? And then he just sees his name. He's like, what? I love how we spend some time with Paul Rudd, Ant-Man. We're figuring out what's going on too. Like,
just as he is, yeah.
We're figuring out what's going on in this world. How are people affected? It's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
His interaction with Cassie too,
Yeah.
when he gets there, is
You're so big.
legitimately, it tugs at your heartstrings, that's for sure. And now she's older now and switched at a new actress playing the character too.
This is a different character than what we see in the Ant-Man movies, though. Like Ant-Man himself, because as if you may remember from our Ant-Man and the Wasp podcast, Ant-Man is not a very smart character in those movies. He's just kind of along for the ride. Maybe he absorbed a bunch of stuff from the other people, but he was never smart. And in this movie, he's like, do you guys know anything about quantum physics? Only to make conversation.
Yeah. Black Widow knows more about that than he does.
Yeah. But I'll give it a pass because we needed somebody to be smart and to convey this quantum stuff.
Even he is not that smart. He just has the idea of, well, if I did it, so can you guys. I mean, you guys are the ones who are going to have to figure it out, though. I'm not going to be able to do that. I just have the idea. He's the idea guy. He can't put it into place.
Which is great. That feels like Ant-Man to me.
Absolutely.
How they wrote him here, I think, was even better than in the Ant-Man movies. It felt like a character that I want to see a whole movie on.
Yes. Captain Marvel is in this.
She is.
After her whole solo movie that we ranked and reviewed last week, she has a very little to do.
I do like some lines that she says, though.
Endgame.
I like how she broadens it out to a universe perspective.
Yeah, right.
There are many planets that don't have Avengers. And they're going through very similar things to you.
Really good way to write her out of the whole beginning of the movie. Yeah. Go put her somewhere else.
Yes. I, for one, don't mind that decision. I like this focusing on the original people.
That was the big concern. Okay, is Captain Marvel just going to come in and just save the day? And she saves the day.
She almost does.
She saves the day at points, but it never takes the spotlight off of who we want it to be on.
It really leaves some question marks. Like, what does Captain Marvel do when she's gone? Does she have a patrol? Is she part of a squad? Is there like a dispatch thingy? I can't wait to see that in the Marvels. See what she does.
There was a lot of worry going into this that she was going to defeat Thanos, and so much so, and there was the backlash from her movie and everything that I don't know how it was for your theater, but I'm not kidding.
There was
Thanos
cheering.
Shot her away with the Power Stone. My whole theater cheered and clapped.
Oh yeah.
For many reasons, but there was just like Thanos is not going to go down that easily, and he just took the Power Stone and punted Captain Marvel across the battlefield. Like, that is epic.
Why she didn't just Omni-Man fly into him and just beyond me, but plot conveniences.
Is there anyone else we should talk about before we talk about
Rocket?
Them.
And we talked about Rocket. We talked about Thor.
He's given a side story. He's there to propel the main characters, for sure. But I always love seeing Rocket.
I want to make sure we don't forget anybody.
Yeah.
We're going to forget something.
It's okay.
A massive film.
It's a massive film. It's going to be a long podcast. But Captain America has a lot more to do in this movie than in Avengers Infinity War.
Yes.
He has a lot more lines and
a lot less beard.
And a lot less beard. Sorry to see the beard go on Captain America. That was a good look, I would say.
So is his regular look.
But so was his regular look.
Come on.
Yes.
Don't look at me like that, Micah.
I could look at him all day.
Good. Good stuff.
His beginning, you said at the beginning, Micah, the scenes where you can breathe are amazing.
And Cap gets the most of those, I feel.
His conversations with Black Widow, you know, there's a lot of room to move on and grow. I keep telling people to do that, and some do, but not us. And they sit there, and he has all that conversation with all the people in that small group. I love moments like that. Even
cameo in there.
Yep, Anthony Russo. Even now, he is there, and he's still trying to do good to help people. There might not be a supervillain threat, but there is people who still need help. And I love that he's in a self-help group.
And you can feel the pain in his voice just as much because he still hasn't moved on.
You gotta
can
move
feel
on.
that. You gotta move on.
You gotta move on. And he lowers his head.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole movie, you get the sense of Cap just wants everyone back.
Yeah.
And when he goes to Tony, I love their conversation.
Back together.
Tony, however many adventures we've done together, does this really seem so far-fetched? And Tony's more reserved, but Cap's just on this train of getting everyone back. And to him, that's all it's ever been about. Because to him, he's always been selfless. And his through line from this movie on, I'm sure we're going to talk about the scene from Avengers. Everything special you came out of a bottle. And then the same goes for Tony. This movie proves that absolutely wrong for both of them in every way. And also, Cap, this is Cap's moment. I've said it every Avengers movie. Every Avenger gets their big hero moment. And Cap actually gets two of them, but with the main Avengers score that leads into it and their epic one-liner, when the music hits, Cap gets to finally say it completely. Avengers assemble. Was your theater going crazy during that moment?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Which moment was bigger?
Oh, Mjolnir.
This one or Mjolnir?
Oh, dude, him lifting Mjolnir still. I just think about the first time I saw that because did you have that spoiled?
I had it spoiled.
You had Mjolnir spoiled.
Yes.
I didn't have Mjolnir spoiled.
I had nothing spoiled
But
going into this.
when he grabs Mjolnir and he just goes ham on Thanos. I saw actually a video popped up in my feed today, said, is this not the greatest cinematic moment ever? And it's him lifting Mjolnir. And to me, like, that's the greatest experience I've ever had in a theater. Yeah, Toby, Andrew, and Tom is super great. But there was such a magic to him lifting Mjolnir.
Yes.
I think in retrospect, just like in a home viewing perspective, the Mjolnir part works better for me than portals. I feel that so the portals start going, we get a good 5 seconds per person, right? 10 seconds per group. Spider-Man swings in, and the Wakandans all start walking through.
Yeah.
They're giving you time to clap and process. Yeah. And it was huge in the theater. It doesn't work as well for me in a home viewing experience.
Absolutely.
Just because it's so spread out. But, in the grand scheme of 21 movies, to give you this amount of time, sure, I'll let it pass.
You think the scene takes too long?
I think they hang out on too many characters. It should have been just like bam, 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 bam.
Okay.
We're all here. Let's do it. Let's fight. I think they're delaying the...
You think their big entrances can play as a little corny now?
I think it was a little corny, yeah. Because they were just kind of like, I'm Black Panther.
Right.
We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Flipping.
We're here.
Oh, wait. With Guardians and Doctor Strange, there was a really cool character. There is Spider-Man.
There's Spider-Man. Yeah.
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a corny thing that happens in the Guardians movies where they all pose and they all do like their walking thing. But it works for me in those movies because that's just James Gunn's style. He does that in all his movies, is like the slow-mo walking down the hallway scenes.
I do like the thought of Falcon being like, can you make sure you open the portal on the left side of it? Because I have to say on your
I gotta
left.
say mine.
Right.
It's gotta work, okay?
What do you think about it?
It's gonna be really cool.
I look for Howard the Duck every time. People say he's in there.
Oh, he absolutely is.
I haven't seen him yet.
Are you serious?
And I'm not going to look up where he is. Every time I watch it, I'm looking for him.
Okay, where is he? Where is he?
I will say he absolutely is in there. I see him I noticed it actually my first viewing
Oh,
when no one else did. I was like, wait,
This is just
no,
a side
Yeah,
note,
right.
but I read some article leading up to the release that the Defenders were gonna be in this movie.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, where's Daredevil? Where is he?
Yes. I think I read that same one.
I imagine Ethan in the theater. Wait,
Where is he?
where is Charlie?
Yes. Yes.
Charlie Cox comes in and just whacks Daredevil or
But
whacks.
he's in like
When
a
you think
lawyer's
about it,
Whacks Thanos. He crunches a brick.
Foggy Nelson walking in.
A really good lawyer.
When you think about stuff like that, though, you're like, would they even? I mean, they would take out maybe like 3 of them.
They probably
Yeah,
die.
Yeah, right. I mean, even like Winter Soldier or Rocket, like,
What are y'all doing?
Are you saying none of the Marvel characters die in that fight against the meaningless?
Yeah, a lot of them
horde
do. Yeah, a lot of the sorcerers and the unnamed Asgardians and
Yeah, but like none of the good ones.
yes,
They wouldn't be
yes.
the good ones if they
Okay,
None of them even
all right,
get like
you're
hurt.
critiquing
Hey,
the same movie that has all of the females main characters at once team up at
Oh,
the
okay.
same
We're
point
getting to the
on the
nitpicks.
battlefield.
Can we
All right?
agree that the fight at the end is both the best and worst part of the movie?
yes.
No,
Like it has some of the
absolutely
best
not.
and worst parts. No.
I think
I
that
think it's epic.
so. Yeah, yeah. I saw a tweet actually this week with all the Deadpool leaks coming out. It's like this is why every movie, or this is why Infinity War and Endgame looked like PS4 video games because of the leak potential, right? And especially when I compared this final battle to the final battle of the first Avengers movie, the lack of like color and unique space is very prominent.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a big empty whatever battleground.
Mhm.
But like I don't hate it, but I think that's where a lot of like you lose a lot of like the careful writing that was so prominent in the early beginning where it just all right, dump it all.
So-
But this is something I want to throw out to you guys, okay? Yeah, all the female characters show up, they get an epic shot, and I'm not going to defend this in any way. But we also have 2 scenes where our big 3 characters also are together.
Yeah, but they do something.
And no one ever critiques the fact that these 3 happen to be together. We just critique the fact that all the women
For
happen
me,
to
it's
be
because why did all the women have to be there at that time? Like, what is the motive for them all coincidentally being there, like in that one spot? They're not all like joining up to do something because they split up right after that. They
Yeah.
don't. They're not all there to save Spider-Man because he's already saved.
Right.
And they don't need to help
Guys, you
Captain
gave us an
Marvel
epic
'cause
Lego
she-
set. Come on.
So
Yeah.
yeah, seriously.
That's why I don't like that scene.
If
It's
you
not
want-
like it can be there. It just needs to
Why?
have a
Why
reason.
is
Yeah.
it there? Other
Yeah,
than
it. My issue is. My issue is
What's that supposed to mean?
people go crazy about. Oh, why are you critiquing it? It's just it's like people go crazy for this. But what
dig
it
it?
does, and it did for me, even on my first viewing, it takes you out of the moment of oh my gosh, this is such an epic battle. Oh, they did that.
That is exactly what I thought.
That,
like
and it does. It's inevitable.
Like
Not that it's female led and I don't like females. It's just, oh, okay. This is happening.
it's
This
too
is
on
so
the nose for me.
unrealistic.
And there was no I just need a little reason as to why they were there. If they all needed to be there to save Spider-Man, that's enough for me. But they didn't need to all be there.
No.
Especially Okoye. What was she doing? She's just like
fighting, bro.
it's just like
They, like, if you
she's got
watch
her
it,
big gloves.
they just, women start appearing from the sides that they just keep walking in. And like, there's just no, whatever.
Where's
It
our
is what
epic
it is.
man shot
The
like
chick
that?
with the
And
antenna.
also, the big 3, there's 3. This woman's scene has like,
Yeah, I
12.
know.
And it's
just,
like-
it's funny.
it is.
It's something that people always bring up when they want to hate on this movie. What about that
Yes.
scene?
That is
Well, you
true.
know what? I can complain about some guys too in this movie. Someone that
Yeah,
I
go.
don't like in this movie, surprisingly, is Spider-Man.
In
I
the 3
don't-
scenes he has.
I don't like actively dislike his interaction with Tony
Are you serious?
immediately after he said, I got all dusty, and then how would you know that? You weren't there. You dusted before you knew that.
Wait, what do
But
you
he saw himself
Like
dusting.
his whole interaction with Tony right at the start. Like not his
Yeah.
I like his dying, I'm sobbing over your dead body or whatever. But I don't know. I just felt like all right, Tom, go in there and say some stuff, and we're gonna get right onto the CGI fights. That's just what it felt like to me. It felt like, all right, well, people loved him in Infinity War. We got to make sure that everyone knows that he's still the happy-go-lucky little teenager, and we gotta get in there, squirt.
But he is, though.
Yeah,
He
but,
still is. Like 5 minutes ago, he was on Titan helping the Avengers fight
yeah, I know,
Thanos.
but that's not how he. I don't know. It didn't seem in character. For
I
him.
hate it. I don't know why I
It
hate
seemed
it.
too far in like that direction. You know what I mean? It's not as
You saying it pulled you out of the moment?
it pulled me out of the moment. This viewing, it didn't before, but this viewing, I noticed it, and it was like, would he be aware of it I don't know.
Well, he's not. He says, I guess I must have passed out, but because when I woke up, Doctor Strange was right there. Like, that's what he says. Like,
I do.
Holy cow! You're not gonna believe what's going on. Do you remember when we were in space? That was literally milliseconds ago for him. Remember when we were in space? Like, why would he say that? If
So here, you
Keep
also
going,
got to
though.
factor
yeah,
in. You
and
got
I got all dusty. Okay, and I must have passed out because I woke up and you were gone. But Doctor Strange was there, right? And he said it's been 5 years. Come on, they need us.
That's why he
And he
says
started doing the yellow sparkly thing that he does. It seems too dumpy for me.
I like it.
It seems too
I love
dumpy
it.
for me.
I like
Yeah.
it too. But
Well, because you got to
That's
think
fair.
Bruce Banner snaps. That's when they all come back.
Yeah.
And then how many more minutes of runtime before they come through the portals is that?
and also
a good
Doctor
amount of time.
Strange tells him that to Tony, it's been 5 years. So that's why he says, do you remember when we were in space?
Yeah.
It's just a lot for me in one line.
I like that he's word dumping though, because Tony is just like, all right, I don't
It's like,
even
I'm
care. I'm
just
just
happy to
glad
see
you're
you.
back.
Yeah.
And they hug.
The reason why Tony joins the fight in the beginning of the movie.
It's quick.
Yeah.
It's forgivable. It's a little thing for me. I'm nitpicking because this movie's really good. That was just something.
But
one
Cap,
of
we were-
one of a few
We were,
things.
yes,
we were trying to
we
talk
were
about
on
Cap, and something
Yeah.
happened.
There was just epic moments with Cap, and I'm sure we'll get to it with favorite scenes and characters and stuff like that. But I think his ending is amazing. The last scene with Falcon,
Mhm.
just he's old now. He made the decision to be selfish in a life that has just been the complete opposite.
Mhm.
And I love that. I love that he goes back and stays with Peggy. And I
No.
love that that's the very last shot of the movie.
Oh, so good.
I don't think I will.
I don't think I will.
No, I don't think I will.
What it looks like
So,
Joe Biden.
and
man.
something that people like, yeah, the movie's so loved, and then it takes so many swings. Critiques are thrown. Oh, why didn't Bucky get the shield? Okay,
Yeah.
you clearly see, like, by the looks exchanged, Bucky and Steve have clearly talked about this. I'm sure Steve wanted to give Bucky the shield, and Bucky's like, no, it's definitely best to give it to this guy. Ex-military, fought for our country. He will represent America so well. And he can't have an ex-Hydra agent representing Captain America.
Nope.
So they talked it over. He gives him the shield. Works really well in the moment. Once again, we're not talking about what they do after.
I gotta rewatch that show.
Right, we're not
I
talking
feel like
about
I
that.
gave it a bad rap because it was so early, but
Yeah. No, and that scene to me, they play that. I want to talk about the score too, but they play the original Captain America theme during that scene as he passes on the shield to Falcon, which I love. It's amazing. Alan Silvestri did a great job on the score for
How
this.
did that feel first watch? Because first watch, it felt really, really sudden. I knew Chris Evans was done, and you felt like, okay, what are they going to do at the end of the movie to write him out? So you knew that was coming, but from a narrative perspective, is it too like, okay, he's going to go return the stones. Oh, now this character you love is gone forever. Or is that part of the charm where he's ripped from us?
That's exactly what it is. Falcon even says it. The only thing bumming me out is I have to live in a world without Captain America. And slowly, as through that conversation that happens, you start to realize that you're going to have to do the same thing from now on. There is a Captain America, but it's not the Captain America we grew up with. And it's like, oh my gosh, holy cow. But that also couples with it because it's sudden, but then you're like, you sit there and think, oh man, he has had a whole life. What did that look like? He's got a ring now. Do you want to tell me about her? No, I don't think I will. And then it goes back to that, and then you're emotionally satisfied. It seems sudden at first, and then I like it from that point on. That was how it was for, I mean,
Helps
at
you
that
feel
point
the
I was
weight
just
of
sobbing.
helps you feel the weight of being ripped out. Yeah, it was good.
Yes.
It was good.
And I would love a movie with Cap returning the stones if they ever want to do that.
Also, you don't need it.
No, absolutely not.
Kind of the same thing with the time jump. It brings meaning by knowing there's a story that we didn't see. Like there's meaning behind that.
Okay.
We don't have. That's something that a lot of franchises are falling into. Like every story that can be told in this time frame, let's do it. Yeah, let's give you a story about how they got the Death Star plans. Okay, that turned out really good. We like that movie a lot. But do we need that? We don't need that. Or, let's tell a story about Kenobi in between episode 3 and episode 4. Okay, sure. We don't need that. You can try.
Yeah.
See if it's any good.
Good point.
So yeah, we could get a movie with him returning the stones. Do we need that?
Yeah.
We don't need that.
That's fair. I like the elevator scene. I like the Hail Hydra.
So
Come on.
That they do such a good job at like, especially with the
This is the
2012
only
Avengers
movie
stuff.
they can do that in.
Yeah, it
And
is.
We love those moments.
Yes. Come on. The whole time building up to it, he just knows how to play the game. Hail Hydra. I like him fighting himself too. That's a good fight. Bucky is alive. He knows exactly what, like he's played the video game before and he knows exactly how to beat every level.
That was a cheat
Oh, yeah.
codes.
Yep. And now he's just a pro at it. Captain America is written excellently in this movie. But not as good as...
You could argue he's as well written as Iron Man, but Iron Man also is. They're the two guys.
I think Iron Man's just Tony. He's acting his butt off, man.
Tony has a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morgan Stark.
Wow.
The foreshadowed in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Tony Stark himself is a huge part of this movie. There was Oscar campaigns for him. People wanted him to go on a campaign.
Got it.
Should have gotten it
Come
for sure.
on.
I agree.
The fact that RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., plays this character. Wait, what is this appearance? Let's do so. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3.
Incredible Hulk.
His Hulk
Gotta count
cameo.
it.
Okay,
Heyo.
that's 4. The 4 Avengers films, 9. Civil War, 10. Homecoming, 11. Okay. 11 if we counted right.
More than half of the movies then.
Yeah, he has been this staple of this franchise, and it almost felt like they should have done a Return of the King-esque with RDJ, where all these other projects before, like Fellowship, we ignored it, and Two Towers, we ignored you guys, but here, RDJ, after all these performances, here's your award. This to me is the clearest display of like, oh yeah, superhero movies, you're not cinema. But come on, he I don't know any other performance from whatever this year was that I remember like this.
Which one won Best Picture? I think it was The Green Book in 2019, and I think Vigo won Best Actor. But
Green Book.
yeah, who won Best Actor?
Yeah,
Even
I can go through awards if you want.
You don't have to. This podcast is already long enough. But who won Best Actor?
So
That's the
it
one I want.
was not even nominated for Best Picture. Nobody from this was nominated. Okay, I take that back. Bradley Cooper was nominated for Best Actor in A Star Is Born.
The stars.
So I guess that kind of counts.
We got one, kind of.
Rami Malek won for Bohemian Rhapsody for Best Actor.
That's what it was.
Um,
I haven't seen it, but I know he didn't do as good as Robert Downey Jr.
I saw it at the Paramount Theater in Aurora. That was pretty cool.
Is his performance as memorable as RDJ's?
Into the Spider-Verse did win Best Animated Feature.
I don't like Queen. That's why I haven't
but-
seen Bohemian Rhapsody.
Say it again.
Don't like Queen.
You don't like Queen?
Ooh.
I wonder why. But Endgame
We're not
was
gonna dive into
nominated.
that.
Was nominated. Here we go for Best Visual Effects and won
Best visual effects?
nothing.
Oh.
It won nothing. Neither did
Yep.
Infinity War. Look at
His,
this. Our top four in the box office: Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home, Avengers. Not in that order. All nominated for Best Visual Effects. Won nothing.
they had to throw one of them.
They're
They
like-
had to throw one award.
Yeah.
Two of them. And they always go visual effects.
I believe they won. It wasn't a real Oscar, but like a fan pick thing. There was like
Including-
There's
this
this-
movie didn't even win fan moment of the century or
Oh,
whatever
that's true.
whatever that was. When was that?
a
proposed
couple of years ago.
popular
it was-
film
They
category.
gave it to the Flash
When the Flash.
in
Let's
Zack
go.
Snyder's Justice League.
Cool scene, but not better than multiple scenes from this movie.
Was it from Zack Snyder's Justice League or
Yeah.
normal Justice
no,
League?
not normal.
Normal Justice League? That moment doesn't even happen.
What do they
Um,
call it? That's called the like something fan service moment of the
I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
of the
The
lifetime.
best fan service moment of the last 10 years or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Go
it
ahead.
was absolutely stupid.
They actually came out and said that the Snyder fans had rigged
They
the
did. Yeah.
poll in some way. So
It makes me ashamed.
yeah,
Let's just say that.
as you should be, Ben.
There's a scene at the beginning with Robert Downey Jr. as he's talking to Cap, and he's like, he's just laying out how we're failures. And I needed you. It's in past tense. That trumps what you need. It's too late, buddy. That whole scene is amazing.
Yeah.
They do some little Steve Rogers special effects on his body to slim him down really a lot. And also his opening scene with Nebula. That whole little football thing with the finger football scene, that was epic. And then him recording the note for Pepper is such a great way to start the movie out.
Yeah.
And then you're taking on this
Brings you
epic
down to
journey.
ground level, gives you gives you a little bit of connection with Nebula. So I felt a little closer to Nebula
Yeah.
in that. But
But as for Tony, like, I'm already so invested. Give him a daughter. I mean, how much more investment do I need to have in this already great character for it to feel that much worse when he does go at the end? Now he's got something to live for, not just a family in the Avengers, a legit family. But would you be able to rest? That's the line that I keep coming back to, and it's just, man, it's so good. His you talk about the small moments. The scene with his dad in 1970, that was so good. Are you kidding me, man?
So good.
Come on.
so good.
He did drop the odd pearl.
It was great. Yeah.
No amount of money ever bought a second of time. I never thought he would get resolution with his dad in Endgame. They would
Right.
take time out of their beefy runtime in the biggest movie ever made to help him out
Yeah.
with his dad.
Help him on his own journey.
They are contrasting their kids. I have a daughter, you know. Oh man, I hope it's a girl. Less of a chance she turn out like me. Come on, two veteran actors here who, I mean, even Slattery, I believe is his name. I'm forgetting his name, but he's been with us for a while.
Since Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we get to see them have a great scene together.
He wasn't in Cap. No, that was someone else. That was younger.
That was young Howard Stark.
Yeah.
This one is the older version, and man, is it so good. Stan Lee during that scene,
Hey
last
man,
cameo.
make love, not war.
Make love, not war. Very fitting. That was
Yeah,
good. That was
fitting
good.
And I love the Hank Pym cameo with an
Oh my
even
gosh.
younger.
Yes.
What's his name?
Look
Whatever
at
his name
that
is.
hair. Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Dude,
Holy cow.
I love like because they're in 2012, right? They don't have enough Pym particle to jump back. They flub it. Loki gets away. and you're sitting there, what are we gonna do? And he's like, I got a hunch. And then they go on it, and
Ant-Man's just like ratting on the whole time, like, yeah, you only have one shot. If this doesn't work, you're stuck. Thanks for the pep talk, Pizzant.
Yeah.
Love that line.
Yes, that's good.
But so fun the way that they use time travel to emotionally explore every character that really goes on a journey, especially the big ones.
Yes.
We get, Tony literally confronts his father. That's huge. Cap sees Peggy, and everything is realized, like, man, now that I see her again and she's here, it's possible. I do want this. And he's able to think about that. And then Thor, he's able to talk to his mother, who he never got a resolve with. He's able to get that. She picks him up when he's down. And then we get, this is more of a scene with the two together, but, Clint and Nat, we get them together in the past, soul for soul. So where it can feel gimmicky to do time travel, how they use it to explore the character's emotions, I really love.
Yes. The decision to, for Iron Man, specifically,
Ben's gonna
No.
Ben, if you cry, I'm gonna put it in a
It's
short.
the 3-hour run. It's the 3-hour runtime, so we can take our time.
I don't know, man. It takes me back to a time when you look forward to these movies, you had all of these characters. You don't get that nowadays. But when I was sitting there, you don't realize that what you look forward to so much is these characters having more scenes together, having new scenes together that you haven't seen, that you care so much about. And here it is, 3 hours with some of the best characters ever written for film.
Mm-hmm.
So long they go on these journeys, and now you get to sit there for 3 hours and watch Cap have these amazing moments and Iron Man have these amazing moments with his family, with their family, they're continuing, and it's something truly special.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't think we'll ever see that again, ever in the history of our lifetime.
And if they do, it'll be so like fabricated. The
Right?
coolest part about the MCU is how, it's synced up, but it also is so messy, and how they make that work. No way when they wrote that first Avengers movie with Josh Whedon that they knew, like, this is where we want to take these characters. This is how we want to pay off these arcs. They didn't know that, but then how they roll with that and what it builds to. And when you look back, how cool that is.
And the way they pay it off, specifically, like after he dies and they go to his funeral and you see the wreath, I guess, and in the middle, it's proof that Tony Stark has a heart. And are you kidding me? They take it, they bring it back from the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
Stuff you hadn't thought even about. And then it's like the fact that they're doing that, it's perfect. It's perfect. And then as it pans across every character that Tony's impacted, even what's his face from Iron Man 3?
Harley.
Yeah. He's back for a brief cameo in that sequence. They didn't have to do that. And then the scene with Happy and Morgan, the cheeseburger scene.
Tony used to eat cheeseburgers.
Dude, I'm not kidding you. From the moment Tony died, I was bawling my eyes out until the end of the movie. Like quiver lip, everything, man. even on this rewatch, I shed a tear. Oh, I'm not kidding. It means that much. Even now, almost 5 years removed, that's how much these. And yet we watched over the last 2 years, almost every other week. Every week we've watched a Marvel movie, and having it spread out has made it no less harder than it has.
Mm-hmm.
It's something special.
It is.
It really is.
That's why this movie's always referred to like, MCU's never been the same since Endgame. I mean, you're not wrong. It's hard to be the same since Endgame.
Yes. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get into the end?
There was the end of our cast.
Before we get to favorite scene, favorite character, and then obviously the ranking.
I was just scrolling through here and I was scrolling through the trivia and I found the Captain America. At the end, there was a lot of discussion as to whether or not Captain America should have been in the same timeline. So he goes back in time.
Yeah.
He lives his life with Peggy. People right outside of the movie, they were like, all right, they explain time travel in one way, where if you change something, that is a different branch. You don't live in that branch.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here he is. How is that possible?
Bunker down. Yeah.
Bunker down. How does that work?
Well, I think the Russo brothers confirmed that he jumped back to this timeline.
Yeah.
Yes.
They haven't confirmed how, but they just,
He grabs
jumped.
enough Pym particles to do that.
Oh, okay.
Because he only needs 2 to bring him and Tony back, 1 to send him back to the past with Peggy, and 1 to bring him back to Falcon once he's lived his life.
Sure.
There it is.
Okay.
That's how that's how I see it, and it works. To me, that logic works.
Okay. Sure. I'm over it.
It's a lot more appealing to look at it that way than the fact that, this Cap just kind of like hid in Peggy's basement.
Yeah.
For whatever.
Yes.
80 years.
Well, here comes Nick Fury. He's looking for a Cap, not me.
Not me. I'm married.
Yeah.
Ethan, if you had to pick a favorite character in Endgame, keeping in mind that this is your last time that you can pick certain ones.
Yeah, I know.
Who would you pick?
Howard the Duck.
Mike, I'm gonna save Howard the Duck for you.
Oh, thanks.
Logan. Logan is my favorite character. Oh man,
I'm gonna pick Daredevil.
I don't want to. Ben, can you go first? I want you to go first because there are certain characters that we all love and want to take, but I want to give you the floor for this.
Captain America.
Happy.
Steve Rogers. I will absolutely take him. He more so than Iron Man on this journey has meant more to me as a character, even though I think Robert Downey Jr. has the best writing overall. I think that Captain America, through his journey in this, you talk about the Avengers sequence. Everything special out of you came out of a bottle. Clearly not. He wields Mjolnir and he has 2 of the best moments in this movie, maybe the best moment in the movie. And his ending with Peggy is amazing. And I want to highlight Alan Silvestri's score for this. This is my favorite score in the Marvel movie marathon. And it even is still to this day, I would say. Across the Spider-Verse might come close, but Avengers Endgame is an amazing piece of film music, and he brings back Cap's theme many times during this, especially when he fights Thanos. The Cap theme plays very triumphantly, which is epic, and Captain America is without a doubt my favorite character. This would be my last time to pick him, so I will absolutely pick Steve Rogers. Micah.
Well, before Ethan picks him, I'm gonna pick Ant-Man.
Oh,
Whoa.
Actually, I'm gonna pick Ant-Man because I was just very surprised by how much I enjoyed his presence and his charisma.
Nice.
With the rest of the cast. Just how he is like the guy that moves the plot at the beginning. I love the 5 minutes we get to spend with him discovering what's going on, what happened here. It's just, I love how he came out of nowhere and just surprised me like that.
wow.
He has some
And they give him that thing at the end where there's like, oh yeah, we've got a car, and then they they run over there and they go and fix it, and then it gets crushed, and then they're like, oh, we can't do it anymore. But it's just another level to raise the stakes, and you get to see time flow through him. Somebody peed his pants.
Just me.
Just me.
Yeah, that's good.
The selfie bit, it's great. And he's not, I don't feel like he's comedic relief. I feel like it's one of the more natural, because when you think comedic relief, you think like Jar Jar Binks. He's not Jar Jar Binks.
I agree.
He's not like modern Thor. He's just he adds a lot to the scene. It's great.
Okay.
Well, guys, I tried handing him off. I threw him over to you guys. Where did it bring him? Back to me.
You can say happy. You can say happy.
I couldn't take happy. No, I'm Iron Man. Come on. This I've
Cheap,
talked cheap, whatever.
Logan.
Logan. I'll take Tony Stark. Come on. We started this journey with him, and it's just so cool that we get to end it with him. And we've talked about it throughout all these podcasts, but just the journey they take him on. Ben already referred to it. Take off the suit. Where are you? Billionaire, genius, playboy, philanthropist. I know guys with none of that worth 10 of you. Okay, you're not the type of guy to crawl under the wire, or lay on the wire, let the other guy crawl over you. He's like, no, I would just cut the wire. Right? He's not the one who's gonna make the sacrifice play. And here we are, all these movies later, whatever, his 11 projects, and he makes that sacrifice play. And the way that that specific scene plays out is you have all our Avengers here. They're back. You bring them back. Okay, if we can't defeat Thanos now, we never will. And it comes down to, okay, Thanos has overpowered everyone. But what wins in the end is Tony's character, the journey he's been on, and the tech that he has created. The nano gauntlet was able to transfer the stones onto him, get one of the best shots in all film history.
Yes.
All the stones filling his hand. After Thanos goes, I am inevitable. And I'm diving into scene. I'm trying to. All right, I won't dive into scene, but Tony. I take Tony. I just seeing the journey that he's been on, and you highlighted the writing. A character is only as good at his writing, and it is just so cool that with all these different directors and all these different writers that have taken on Tony Stark, that he has kept the same core throughout it all, and he's been able to grow through it. We talked about it in our Civil War podcast, how he was completely different from where he started, and they just build on that even more. So Tony Stark, thank you.
Cap, Ant-Man. Those are your Avengers picks.
That's the Avengers. That's the that's the East Coast Avengers.
My favorite scene is Avengers Assemble. It has been since day one, and even now it still rings true.
Is that like portals into Avengers Assemble?
The portal sequence.
Okay.
The portal
was
sequence.
Like Avengers Assemble into
from when Cap stands off against the army and just looks out. There's that epic wide shot of the army. That whole sequence until he says Avengers Assemble.
Okay.
That scene specifically is my favorite one. It elicits the most emotion out of me. It gets me so happy. Even to this day, I get a smile on my face as I see everyone come through, and Cap has that moment of relief. It's not just going to be me anymore. I can do this with everyone. Everyone can do this all day. And Avengers Assemble. He finally gets to say it. The music during that scene is also just beautiful. The Russos have an interview, and they're like, yeah, this moment was good. And then Alan Silvestri came and he made the music for it. And yeah, it was perfect after that. So the portal sequence is my favorite one. Micah, do you have a favorite scene in a 3-hour movie?
Yes, I'm going to take the funeral scene.
Ooh.
Because it's, one, very impressive that they got everyone there in one shot. That no digital.
They told Tom Holland it was a wedding.
Yeah.
It was a wedding.
They got everybody there, even the guy you don't even remember from Iron Man. Was that 3?
Yep.
Everyone was like, oh, this guy's here and this guy's who?
Who?
Everyone, immediately, who's the guy in the funeral scene?
Yeah, right.
You're not a real one if you didn't recognize the guy in the funeral scene.
8 years
It does
ago.
look really different though.
Yeah.
Age does.
I love the swelling music. I love how everyone's there, and you just see how everyone's lives were saved by this Iron Man guy. And he finally has that peace. He can rest. And I love it.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
a great way to end a movie. If only there weren't 20 minutes after it.
Yeah. Yes.
That's true. Yeah.
What's
It works.
Ethan gonna pick?
I'm gonna go with the
As
scene.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, that's cool. That's good.
Well, I do love the movie. They set up there in the future. Oh yeah, Thor's gonna be with the Guardians.
You
Very
love
cool.
that movie that they set up,
Right,
not the movie that.
not the movie that we
happened.
get. I'm gonna go with the scene right after Tony snaps, and then he's lying there.
Ooh.
Peter comes up and he's like, we did it, Mr. Stark, we won. And Tony he's just there, and he's so weak, he's dying. And Pepper comes over. She's like, you can rest now. And then the shot of her hand on the arc reactor as the arc reactor dies. And the feeling you get, you're like, oh, this is truly the end. So that's my favorite scene.
I do love the small buildup that they have too. They're like Jarvis status, and conditions critical.
No music, complete silence.
Mhm.
You can hear the fire in the background.
But that's just one of the many, many, many great scenes that this movie gives you.
You can pick.
I think that's all the scenes actually.
Yeah, that's every scene.
Yeah.
All the good scenes.
In the
We
movie.
said them.
There's a ScarJo eating a sandwich.
So I will never forget where Hollywood Reporter ranked this on their review. It's actually one of the reasons why we always refer to it as this. But Micah, if you could remind us about that score along with the internet score of
Well,
Avengers Endgame.
Endgame made a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it did.
Endgame made a lot of money. Opening weekend, it made $357 million.
Domestically.
No, it made $357 million. Its opening weekend. I think that's
Domestically it
global.
did. I know that globally it made $1 billion in its opening weekend.
really
Yes, there was a record for that.
wow. All right, so then
I
I guess
know
this
that for
first
sure.
column is this first column then is oh wait, I have to do a record.
Domestically, it didn't make over $1 billion, but internationally, when you
Yes.
combine the two, it did make over $1 billion in its first
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. All right, so it made a lot of money.
Yes.
Globally, in total, as of right now, 2 billion with a B, 799,439,100 It made almost 8 times its budget of $357 million, which
Dang.
is the largest budget total. They gave Infinity War Endgame, I think it was like a $500 million budget. They
Yeah.
split. Things went both ways. Estimate $300 million went to Infinity War, 356 went to Endgame. A little bit more went just because Infinity War made so much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, Marvel's is the third highest.
Didn't
budget.
the Marvels make $2 billion though?
Yeah, the Marvels made ouch.
Lost $2 billion.
Ouch, man, that's rough.
Dang.
That is rough. I didn't know that it was the third highest budget.
Spider-Man 3 coming in on below it. Wow.
Man, Guardians 3. Okay, anyway,
Or is that No Way Home?
that's Spider-Man 3.
Oh.
Yeah, 2007. So, on to our scores. I'm recording too, just so you know.
I got it.
Onto our scores. Hollywood Reporter ranked it. Oh, wait. We'll do internet scores first. Sorry, I'm a little flustered.
You're good.
Endgame, 94% Rotten Tomatoes, critic, 90% audience, 78% Metacritic, weird, 7.9 out of 10 on a Metacritic user, 8.4 out of 10 IMDb,
Dang, 8.4?
8.4, and a 3.9
really good.
on Letterboxd out of 5, averaging out to an 8.3 out of 10,
Making it where in our internet ranking?
fifth.
Mm.
So
Fifth.
our top 5 for internet is Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, Logan, No Way Home, Avengers, Endgame,
Wow.
then Iron Man.
That is surprising.
Yeah. So,
The infamous.
the infamous Hollywood Reporter rating, as you guys can see, Endgame barely makes the screen here.
You got to squint and really
Yeah, you got to really
go
squint
down pretty far.
because it is in the green, boyos. That means it is in the bottom half. Just
That's terrible.
slightly worse than Thor, apparently.
Oh.
You know what? Let's do a little something different today.
Whoa.
We are going to our list the Hollywood Reporter list, and we will read out what they say.
Why they?
Why do they think? We haven't read these before. Is this heroic tragedy, screwball comedy, or the most self-important TV clip show the world will ever see? Riddled with tonal miscalculations and fan service that managed to pander without satisfying, Endgame had its pleasures. With a decade of groundwork laid, how could it not? But the series' ever-inflating self-regard was exhausting, and not in a "we just saved the universe" kind of way. Let's not get started about those closing credits. I mean, come on, guys.
The closing credits.
That's what you're.
Let's not even get started.
The great closing credits.
These people need to be found. And
Good for you, Hollywood. Go up, scroll up. Does it give a list of who wrote this?
Yes.
Who? Let's say we always say that about the movies, but who wrote this trash?
Yeah.
Our favorite people: John DeFore, Leslie Felperin, and Jordan Mincer.
Jordan Mincer.
Do they offer links to these people?
Yes.
There are. They have bios.
They are full-time.
We might have to read the bios.
Find them on social media. And
Jordan Mincer is a contributing Paris Bates film critic for the Hollywood Reporter. Okay.
good for you.
The
Good for you.
Oh boy, we're lagging. They don't expect us to look at these things. No bio on John.
He deleted it after
Yeah.
the backlash for this
He
list.
quit. And Leslie is a contributing film critic at Hollywood Reporter. So I guess US based.
That's who wrote that trash.
Yeah. So
Ouch.
that's who wrote that trash.
That is trash.
Thankfully, we don't care where they put their movie.
That's
Captain
right.
Marvel, they say, is terrific.
It is
7th place.
It is our assumption that they, off of memory, aggregated their scores and just went like, yeah, that's where that goes. Yeah, that's fine. That's
Wow.
not what we did here. We watched them. We watched each and every one, and now we're ranking them.
That's right.
And now it's time, because those scores don't matter.
They don't
Gentlemen.
matter.
This right here
This is it.
is what matters.
Guys, our third to last movie.
Name the top 5 right now in our list, Micah.
Top 5 in our list goes to Avengers Infinity War at number 1 at a 9.8. Second place, Captain America the Winter Soldier at a 9.80. Other one was 9.83.
Okay.
Logan, third place, 9.73. Fourth place, Into the Spider-Verse, 9.70. Fifth place, Captain America Civil War, 9.46. Avengers is just after that.
Okay.
Civil War, man. Number 5.
Okay.
All right.
I will get mine out right away. I think there's no surprise that I'm giving this a 10 out of 10.
Oh.
I will come right out of the gate and say that, yes, this is the greatest cinematic experience I've ever had in the theaters. Still to this day, this movie affects me very much. And I don't think I will ever not love this movie and what it means to me personally. I could go into way more depth, but you just listened to me for almost 2 hours. So
totally
I will keep
right.
it short and sweet, 10 out of 10 for me. Mr. Het.
Ooh, not Ethan today. All right.
I'm saving you for last. I'm saving the best for last.
I've got the worst take. So it's
me like that.
this movie sucked. Not enough Ant-Man. Could have had Edgar Wright write this one and would have been way better. So all in all, I think when you're going to grade, when you're going to compare Infinity War and Endgame, which one do you think? Because I have some room. I have some headroom above Infinity War if I wanted to give Endgame a higher score.
What did you give Infinity War?
A 9.5.
Okay.
And it's not my highest score, so it goes Infinity War, Spider-Verse, Logan for me.
Okay.
9.5, 9.6,
And
9.7.
where's Spider-Man 2 sit?
Spider-Man 2 is 9.5.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe that Infinity War is closer to what Scorsese says is roller coaster.
Okay.
I believe that Endgame is a more complex film that focuses more on the characters' stories not just fitting everybody in as fast as possible to, get them on screen. I think where this movie falls apart is when they try to do that at the end. Not severely. I mean, it's still a good scene. It's just not as quality for me as the rest of the movie. So that's why I'm not giving this too much higher than Infinity War, but it will sit comfortably at a 9.6.
Okay. I like that.
9.6.
Still very, very good.
That is really good.
I don't believe in a many 10 out of 10 movies. 10s out of 10s are the best of the best for me. Like the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
To Micah.
To me, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't pretend that I'm no stranger to giving out 10s. Not that this movie gets a 10.
So you get an 11.
Yes. I'll give it an 11. Put that in the rankings.
Let's go.
No, I really do like this movie a ton. I had that unique experience to where first time watching it, it wasn't an immediately like, I love this movie. That wasn't my immediate reaction. I really did like it, but I had problems with the time travel elements. I felt like Cap's ending was a little rushed. I felt like Fat Thor wasn't my favorite. Professor Hulk was a critique. The Thanos story was a critique. All that, after thinking about it and looking at how it actually plays out, is so good. I love that so much. And Tony says it in the trailer and in this movie, part of the journey is the end, right? Why do we love the MCU? Because of all the great moments it gave us and then how it ends in this movie. And yeah, you can dive in. Time travel allows them to play the hits, right? Like, does this movie really get credit if they really just go back? Okay, you love this moment. Here's Peter Quill singing again. Here's the first Avengers that you love. Yeah, but it does more than that. It takes us back to what we love, then it builds off what we love and gives us more. So yeah, I'm going to give this a 10. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a film critic and my 10s have to be exceptional. Not that Micah does that either. No. But give this a 10. I really love this movie. Like Ben said, it's one of the reasons I love movies. Like the MCU gave me my love for film.
Yes.
It very much did. And I give this movie the credit it deserves when it comes to that.
All right.
9.6.
That's pretty solid.
That's pretty solid.
That is pretty solid. So with a 10, and a 9.6, that averages us out to a 9.86.
Ooh.
Inching out.
That's the number one.
Over Infinity War.
To quote Doctor Strange.
Boom.
For audio listeners, Ben is holding up a single finger, much like Doctor Strange does in the final act of this film.
Number one.
We did it, boyos.
Guys, wow. Who
I
would have
did
thought?
notice that we accidentally tied up Ant-Man and X-Men Last Stand. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. I've given out 3 10s, I believe.
Yes. Ben, you've given out 3 10s. I have given out
Endgame is my
0.
favorite out of the 10s. Endgame, I think Endgame is the best one so far.
There's 7 10s from Mr. Oneslaw himself.
I'm not gonna
7 10s?
I'm not gonna say
7 10s.
which one is my favorite of the 10. It might be this one, but that's the beauty of going all the way up. Is I don't have to go further up.
Yeah,
Wow.
you don't have to.
Well, you know what? You might have to next week.
Oh. That's right, folks, because next week
We are not done. Endgame is not the end of our story
no,
here.
it's not.
As Marvel decided that No Way Home or Far From Home is the end of the Infinity Saga, we will be ending with Far From Home. Thus, we have 2 more movies.
It would be so easy to end with one more and Far From Home, but Marvel's also squeaked in one more in between Endgame and Far From Home.
One more fun episode, huh?
Yep.
Let's go, baby.
Dark Phoenix, Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. It will be a bright day for us, though.
Yes.
Getting to talk about a movie.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yes.
Our Christmas gift to you. We're recording this way sooner than Christmas, but
Dark Phoenix will drop on Christmas.
It'll be our Christmas present. And I know that you guys haven't seen that movie.
I've seen it once.
Oh, you have seen it.
I have seen it once, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember anything of it, though.
I've never seen it.
I also.
And it was part of my dad's watch through the X-Men movies with me. We skipped Deadpool 2. We just did Dark Phoenix because we liked the real X-Men stuff.
Good.
And closed it out.
The real X-Men stuff.
The real X-Men, yeah. So
there you have it, folks.
here's something to look forward to. You got that. We've got Far From Home. And then after that, we're going to do our
Year in review.
Year in Review Multiverse Awards.
Yes.
Not just limited to MCU stuff, not just limited to comic book stuff even. So tune into that. It'll be a fun show. We're going to give out some Multiverse Awards. I've already got some nominees ready to go for me.
Same here.
But yeah.
Look forward to that stuff next week. Dark Phoenix. And it's also going to be Christmas time. Hope you're having a great holiday season. And I look forward to more podcasts coming in the future. As of right now, Avengers Endgame is #1 on the Marvel Movie Marathon.
Nice.
Will it be beat?
It could be. You know what? Dark Phoenix is pretty good. But stay tuned to find out. This has been Rayside.
I love you 3000.
Oh,
Hulk out. This is Micah.
yeah. And we all hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.